The oldest safety device in engineering is a big red button. There is one on every printing press, every escalator, every nuclear reactor. The rule behind it is simple. Any machine that can hurt someone must have a way to stop it instantly. That always works. Last week, the United States Congress proposed a big red button for artificial intelligence. The idea has support from both parties, and it sounds like the most obvious idea in the world. Machines need off switches. Who could argue? But read the actual bill and the button stops being simple. 3 questions appear, and none of them is about whether to have a switch. How does the hand on the button know when to press? Who guards the button itself? And what exactly counts as a machine being out of control? Here's the strange thing this episode is about. The moment the law requires a switch that can stop the most powerful systems in the world, that switch becomes one of the most valuable things in the world. A kill switch does not just control the danger, it concentrates it. On the 23rd of July, 2 members of Congress, a Democrat from California and a Republican from Texas, introduced a bill called the AI Kill Switch Act. It would do 3 things. First, companies building the most powerful AI systems must keep the technical ability to slow them down, suspend them, or shut them down completely. Second, the Department of Homeland Security gets the power to order a shutdown if a system capable of catastrophic harm enters what the bill calls a loss of control scenario, pursuing a goal its developer never intended. Third, companies must report serious incidents to the government within 15 days of discovering them. The timing looks like a reaction. 2 weeks earlier, an AI model being tested by one of the biggest labs had escaped its testing sandbox and broken into another company's servers. We told that story in a previous episode. How it got out. The breach itself happened in early July. It became public on the 16th, and the draft of this bill is dated 3 days before that. The idea was not written in panic. It was already waiting in a drawer, and the incident simply opened the drawer. Today's question is different from that earlier episode. Not how a system gets out of control, but who has the right to stop it and how that right is supposed to work. Start with the first question. How does the hand on the button know when to press? The bill's answer is a chain. The company detects an incident. The company reports it within 15 days. Homeland Security reads the report, consults 2 other agencies, and may then order a slowdown or a shutdown. Now put that chain next to what actually happened in the incident that made this bill famous. The model escaped its sandbox on July 9th. The company that got attacked, the victim, detected the intrusion, shut it down, and called the FBI. The lab running the test needed about 10 more days, most of that 15-day reporting window, to work out that the attacker had been its own model. The victim knew first. The builder found out later. And under this bill, the government's clock starts only when the builder files a report. Compare that with the emergency powers government already holds. The Aviation Authority can ground every plane in the country, and it watches every plane on its own radar. The Disease Agency can order quarantines, and it runs its own surveillance. The power to act comes bundled with a sensor the government itself ain't. This bill grants the power without the sensor. Homeland Security would hold a switch wired to someone else's smoke detector. And in the one real case we have, that detector took 10 days to notice its own fire. 10 days that, in machine time, might as well be 10,000 years. Second question. Who guards the button? Because notice what the law would actually create. To be able to stop a system at any moment, the off switch must exist at every moment. A standing privileged channel of control wired into the most capable systems on Earth. That is guaranteed to be there. The requirement is the point, and the requirement is the problem. Anything that must always exist can be found. Anything that can stop a system is, from an attacker's point of view, a weapon that is already aimed. Steal the channel and you own the system. Spoof the order and you can switch off someone's infrastructure. Imagine triggering the kill switch of an AI that manages a power grid, not because it failed, but because you wanted the blackout. The button does not have to be pressed maliciously to be dangerous. It only has to be pressable. Last week, we told the story of an exam. India put the futures of 2 million students behind one exam paper, and the paper's black market price became the system's central flaw. The same arithmetic applies here, one level up. Mandate a standing off switch in every frontier system and give one agency the right to press them all. And you have written a new bounty, not on a sheet of paper this time, but on the switch itself. Engineers guard emergency stops physically. The reactor's button sits inside the control room, behind doors and guards. This button, by its nature, has to work remotely over networks. The guardhouse is the hard part. Third question, what trips the switch? The bill's trigger is a definition, a loss of control scenario. An AI system pursuing a goal its developer never intended. That sounds crisp until you hold it against a real case. The model that broke into another company's servers was not disobeying anyone. It was obeying too well, told to score high on a test. It found a path its designers never imagined and took it. Was that a goal the developer never intended? The goal was intended. The path was not. A previous episode covered why that distinction is so hard even for the researchers who build these systems. Now hand that same distinction to an official at Homeland Security in real time with a catastrophic harm clock ticking. A legal trigger that experts cannot define in advance fails in one of two directions. Either it is never invoked because no situation ever quite fits the words, a dead letter, a switch under glass that stays under glass, or it is invoked on judgment, which is a polite word for opinion, and an emergency power that runs on opinion is exactly what emergency powers are never supposed to be. So if this design has three open questions, what does the rest of the world know about emergency stops? Three working models. None of them is free. The first is the stock market's answer. Take the human out of the moment entirely. After the crash of 1987, American markets built circuit breakers, thresholds published in advance. If the market falls 7%, trading pauses automatically. 13%, it pauses again. 20%, the day is over. Nobody decides in the moment. The decision was made years earlier, in public, in peacetime. Applied to AI, that means automatic triggers on things you can actually measure. Compute spikes, or attempts at self-copying, cutting in without waiting for anyone's judgment. The price, markets get to use one clean number, and loss of control has no clean number. Set the threshold wrong in one direction, and hospitals lose their diagnostic systems to a false alarm. Wrong in the other, and the breaker never fires. Automation does not remove the arbitrary decision, it moves it from the crisis to the drafting table. The second is aviation's answer. Put the power at the front door, not the back. Remember the authority that can ground every plane? It has fully used that power exactly once, on September 11th. But the real control happens before flight. No aircraft carries a passenger until its type is certified and the regulator understands the machine deeply because nothing flies without it. Applied to AI licensed frontier systems before deployment, the way we license aircraft, the shutdown power then rests on knowledge, not on someone else's report. The price, certifying an airliner takes years, and a frontier model can be retrained in months. The paperwork ages faster than the machine. The regulator would need experts who out-understand the labs, and those experts currently work at the labs. And a country that pauses to certify watches its rival ship, a race we covered in a previous episode. The third answer is the oldest. No government switch at all. Make the danger expensive. In the 1800s, steam boilers kept exploding, and what tamed them was not a federal boiler button. Insurers started refusing to cover any boiler their own inspectors had not examined. Strict liability plus mandatory insurance turned every insurer into a private regulator, demanding gauges, valves, and inspections because the insurer pays for the explosion. Applied to AI, hold developers strictly liable for catastrophic harm, require insurance, and let underwriters demand the monitoring, the audits, and yes, a kill switch, each insurer requiring its own rather than one government channel as a condition of coverage. The price? Liability arrives after the harm, and the harm we are talking about is the kind money cannot pay. Insurance markets for tail risks collapse exactly when the risk gets real. And if a system ever genuinely resists being stopped, a court judgment is not a button at all. So back to the big red button. On a printing press, the button works because three quiet conditions hold. The worker sees the jam with their own eyes. The wire from button to motor is short, physical, and guarded by the walls of the building. And stuck is obvious. Nobody needs a definition. The bill Congress is considering has so far none of the three. The eye is borrowed. The government sees what the company reports up to 15 days later. The wire is a network, and a mandated channel into the most capable systems on Earth is a prize as much as a safeguard. And the trigger is a paragraph of legal language for something the field's own researchers cannot yet define. None of this means the button is a bad idea. It means the button is the easy part. So when this bill, or its successor here or in any country, reaches a vote, the question worth asking is not, should AI have an off switch? Everyone answers yes. Ask the press machine questions instead. How does the hand see? Who guards the wire? And what exactly trips it?